All right, thank you. Got it. All right, welcome everybody. Thank you so much for your time this afternoon while I go through and talk about data management, do some demos here, show you some pieces of the data management applications. And so really, when I talk about data management as far as the new platform, I'm talking about controls underneath the admin and configure application. So today, data management is really one application with lots of different subsets under it. Today, data management is sprinkled throughout admin and configure tabs or applications rather. So just for continuity, I'm going to keep calling it data management, even though we know that there's not a data management true application or a link or button that you would click on that says data management. But it's really, if you think about it, it is kind of a program, right? So just a little bit about data management in the current system covers bulk loads, which we know are going to turn into ETLs in the new platform. Both ETLs and data management training will be scheduled at a later date. This is more of a demo today. I'm sharing with you what I have learned, and that's what we're going over. The folks, the demo today was designed for the core team and the account executives for the two groups here to show you what we are doing, how to manage the different pieces, workflow, and some of the client data. If you would, there's a lot that I want to get through this afternoon. If you could please kindly take a pen and paper or open Word up and write your notes down about your questions, any questions that you have, so that at the end I'll take questions. So just let me kind of drive through the demo, the parts and pieces. I absolutely know there's going to be questions, but if we could just tackle all those at the end, I'd really appreciate it. That just keeps me on task and I make sure that I get through everything. And I promise this is 2 hours. There will be enough time for questions. And then of course, if I don't get to all the questions, we will figure out a plan to get those over to me and get those back to you. So your questions will get answered. Absolutely. So today we're going to talk a little bit about, we're going to go through a plan, talk about resources, what is changing, what is not changing. We're going to go through a demo and then questions. So that's what we're looking at this afternoon. So our plan, let's talk about our plan. Everybody wants to know the plan. So right now, the go live plan for data management and ETLs is being worked on by CGI and some other folks to figure out what exactly that's going to look like. The applications are not quite set in stone. They haven't been completely finalized. So we've got some more information coming, and there may be some changes to what I'm showing you today. And so I don't know what those are going to be, but I just wanted to make everybody aware that there are going to be some changes. Let's talk about some outstanding issues. So right now, learning and training materials for data management and the ETLs, CGI has been tasked with putting those together and getting that over to us. Like I mentioned earlier, there's going to be some changes. CGI has been talking about making some changes to the page where we go to manage the allocations or the chart of accounts. So there might be some changes coming about in that area. There's also some issues right now with filtering data management by client, as far as if I were to give the data management profile to a field user, they're not able to filter that out so that they would only see their own data. So that's an issue. And then there's some more about the allocations. And we'll look at that when we actually look at allocations, but not all of them were able to add. So that still needs to be kind of figured out and fixed. And then also some additional refinements to the data management profile. that we applied to users, what type of access they have under data management. Also, reports. So right at this time, there are no reports for data management. So I'm going to show you what we're going to use in the meantime. And one big thing here that CGI has been tasked with is that any actions that are taken in data management by a user are not currently available in the data warehouse or iValua. So, that's a big piece there, that we're not able to track who is making changes in data management. And then also some information about JIRA tickets when we do enter those in, when we are requesting CGI's help, and including any type of ETLs that they want us. So the JIRA process for them requesting when they update mass data or certain types of data for us. So just some instructions from them, really. So those are the current outstanding issues. Let's talk about some resources. So I've mentioned earlier, CGI is going to develop training materials. We'll have those available, and those will be published in the report and resource center. And so depending on what they provide us, I would also like to make sure that we have quick steps, just like we had for user management. So we would have some for the allocation quick steps, approval profile quick steps, approval rule quick steps, address quick steps, and site quick steps. And we're going to go over all this in a minute, but I just want to let you know that we are going to, again, for this application, have quick steps, just like user management. There's also a crosswalk of requisition fields from our tool now into iValua. So they have put that together, and that is another document that is available as a resource. Another resource is we have recorded sessions like today available for playback. Just like user management, we have a plan to add a learning journey in VIP for data management for internal and external folks. And then, of course, myself and Sherry, we are both available as a resource. And then when we do go live, CGI will be on site. So we have lots of resources, and that was really the point of kind of discussing and walking through everything, is that we are going to have lots of documentation for you when we go live for you to reference and call upon. So now let's move into what is not changing. What is not changing is the access to the application is granted by me solely after the user has received training. And I've been tossing around the idea of also having an exam or a test associated with data management access, just like field users have and internal folks have for user management access. We are going to continue the same process to enable workflow, the tools, obviously that's changing, but it's still the same process. So we're looking at first setting up a field, adding field data, creating a role, adding the role to users, then creating the approval rule. That's what we do today, and that's what we're going to do in iValua. We're also going to continue with the system-wide rules, client-wide rules, Bso rules, and then also really it's a user profile rule, but it's really the expenditure limit approver is exactly how we are tackling the user profile rules. But we're going to continue all those layers. What is changing? So we've got a lot that's changing. So as you may have heard, we're experienced working with different clients that any rules that fire off the requisition header field are no longer firing. So the data converted, but the rule is not firing. So if you do have a client that was utilizing a requisition header field for assign a rule, you're going to have to figure out a way for it to fire off of another field. Also, in the current platform, you can define a rule to fire off of a partial code For example, it could fire off the first digit or the first 3 digits of a code. In the new system, you're going to have to enter in the whole code, not just a few digits. So that's another change there. Override rules are not converting, and no watchers or viewers. We're not going to have those in the new system. Also, a supervisor as an approver will not be coming over. Client IDs have been removed from approval profiles. The BSO e-form is not going to come over. There's going to be a different way that we're going to handle approval rules at the BSO level. And then fields, we've got some fields that we're not going to convert over. So for the local public bodies, we do some of these. We have a workaround so we can get some reports, and we create some additional fields, and then we hide the data behind the scenes. So the fields of government type, purpose, sequence number, location, FIPS, fields will not be coming over. Instead, at some point, CGI is going to add like a little tag onto those separate clients where we can fill out that information. Another thing that's going on with fields is that we're not going to have the defaulted fields. So for example, when we set up a BSO now, we can do field defaults of like a client ID. We will not be doing that in the new system. And then also as well as filtering on fields. That will not be in place. And then something that is changing, which is really nice, is that we now have a user interface where we can make a lot of changes. We can create signer rules. We can enable them ourselves. We have a lot more power now with this user interface. So it's really, really exciting. I wanted to talk about some terminology now from the old platform to the new platform. Some of this I discussed during the user management training, but I wanted to make sure we discussed it here as well. So in the old platform, eVA Classic, if you will, the client or entity that we refer to is now the organization. Anytime we discuss BSO, by sensor, or department, that's really a site. Requisition fields are now allocation levels. Field data is now allocation. Approval role is now an approval profile. An approval rule is still an approval rule, which is good. A rule token is now order. And then approval reason is now a rule description. And so we will go over in the demo, we'll touch on all of the different places where we're using this terminology, but I wanted to give you a little crosswalk of the old terminology to the new. So let's get started. We're going to dive into this demo. And as you can see here, let me move this down a little bit. There we go. There we go. All right, so now you have, this is my landing page. And what I'm going to actually do is go into the admin and addresses. So I'm going to talk first about managing addresses and viewing sites, and then I'll get into the section, the demo, where we are looking at workflow. So as you saw, I went to admin and addresses. I could have also gone to my favorites, and here I have the option of creating a label and clicking on add page to add a favorites. Now, as you can see here, I've gone through and I've added some favorites. So I've added this address, which I could have clicked on from the other screen we were on by clicking on the star, and it would have brought me over here. I have also gone under and done a the sites that we're going to look at in a moment. I have a little favorite that will take me right over to that page. I've done the same thing for the workflow. So I've kind of broken this up in the step 1 for workflow, allocation level, which was requisition fields. Step 2, add allocations, field data. Step 3, approval profile roles, either adding a profile to users or creating one. And then step 4 is the organization and or site approval rules. And then also I did the browse user search page. So this way I can just, if I wanted to, click on the star and navigate wherever I wanted to, rather than going to the application and drilling down. So this is really a shortcut. I hope you guys use this. It's really a time saver, quite easy. So right now it defaulted, as you can see, I did a search for OSIG and it saved that data. But what you can do here is this is the address landing page to manage addresses. So what's really nice is that we've got a keyword search. There is the organization type. It's already organization addresses. We're going to bypass legal company owner, and we're going to go to, we're going to do a search first, and we can come in here and we could search by BSO, or we could also do a search by the, organization. So we have Department of General Services. I'm going to go ahead and click search here. Great. So we've got, as you can see, this is very familiar. This is what we have, very similar to what we have today. So I've just showed you one of the other little tips of using the favorite. Let me show you another little tip. So what I did is I've already expanded this page, but if you wanted to have a view like I do here, you can expand the grid size so you have all the addresses on one page. And then if you wanted to share the data, you could download the table into an Excel format. I had mentioned previously that we were going to talk about a workaround since we don't have reports. If we need to share data, this is what I would do. Anything that you're going to download, as far as in the kind of data management world, I would download it as an Excel document and share it. That's the closest we can get to a report right now. So great. So here I was able to go ahead and see all 132 records. Again, we've got our little ship to, bill to folks. We've got the organization. We'll talk about some of these other columns in a moment. This address, address line 2, city, state, you know, it's really quite similar. Obviously, if we wanted to come in and delete an address, we could click right here to delete it. We can come in as well on the little pencil, just like everything else, and to make an edit to the address and click save. So we do have the ability to edit addresses. Let's look at creating an address here. So I'm going to create, we do have the option to create addresses either at the department or the BSO, the site level. So for right now, I am going to do the department. I'm going to do a ship to and Department of General Services. Right now, just bypass the owner. I'm going to do Department of General Services. Phone number and email are optional. I am going to select ship to. This is very familiar. Agency use field, that's a blank field as well. Main address is blank as well. The address label, from what I understand, this is very close to the title. So whatever titles that folks have been using on addresses, you know, maybe the Patrick, I'm just going to do this for short, Patrick Henry building. And then this is where they'd enter in 1111 East Broad Street. And there we go. How nice is that? And it fills in all this nice information. I can also use the map as well. If I needed to use that, I could. And then I'm going to go ahead and click save and close. And that is simply how you add an address. So that was already added in. So we've just looked right now, really simple adding, editing, or deleting an address. So let's now pop over to, this is going to be a little bit different. We're going to go over to, look at sites, which are BSOs. And so I'm going to go to browse data. And it's saved. I had saved a keyword in here. It saved it. But as we know, BSOs are now sites. So you type in sites, click search, and then we come into this. We're going to go into this table now. We're going to click edit sites. All right. And then from here, let's see what we're going to do from this one. We are going to do in the keyword search, we can do the A194 because we want a list of the different BSOs, which are now sites. Great. So what I'm going to do is use my little shortcut because I want to see all of my BSOs or all of the sites. Oops, did not take that. Nope. There we go. And I should be seeing them all on one page. Great. So this is a little bit different. So we are not doing the, we had the BSO e-form that we used. We're not going to have that kind of tool here. Instead, for right now, CGI, they're creating these BSOs. So what we're doing now is just viewing the BSO here. We do have the power to edit the workflow in the BSO. It's a little bit different than what we do today, but I'll go over that in a moment. When we are pulling up BSOs here, what we are looking for is, so for example, here we can look to see what we're pulling from here is if you've ever had a question, if the organization is using integration, you can see that right here. So you can find out which clients, organizations are utilizing integration. If you see a yes, right, in any of these two fields, then they are. You can also see the dollar amount that's being used. You can also see if that BSO has central receiving set up. You can also see if it is received by amount and if queue manager has been enabled. So this is really powerful. This area, it's more of, I would think of looking at kind of client setup, right? Even though this is applied to BSOs, we know it's pretty much client-wide. This is where you're going to drill in to find that information. Some of these other columns, we're going to have to wait for CGI to give us some information about the, import ID and organization ID and give us that information. But for right now, we've got the BSO, which is the site, the division, and then these other pieces of information. If you want to share this with your client, again, remember, come down here, export it to Excel, and then you have a document that you can share how their BSOs are set up, how their sites are set up. So let's talk about, so now we've looked at the sites, we've looked at addresses, but really what we're here for is the workflow, right? We want to know how to go in and manage, make changes to workflow. So what's really good right now is we've got plenty of time to go into UAT and make changes. So managing workflow is a combination between the admin application and the configure application. So what we would do is first make sure that the allocation level is there, which is the field. Then we're going to make sure the allocation, the field data is there. Then we're going to make sure there's an approval profile that was formerly a role, and we're going to make sure it's assigned to users. And then we're going to configure the approval rule, which is what we do today. Today we would do a JIRA ticket. In iValua, we can actually come in here and create the approval rule. Big change, very powerful, very exciting. So with that being said, let me come in here, and the first thing I'm going to look at is going to be that allocation level, which again, it's a field. So I have a little scenario that I'm going to run through. My example is that I need to add a new approval rule for Fund 1111 for the Department of General Services.
Yeah, and I'm sorry, but your screen is still on the we're not seeing.
You're not, do you see the admin?
Yes, I see admin. Have you gone over to allocations?
No, I'm discussing what I'm gonna do.
Okay, I just wanted to make sure.
Yep. Yeah, I haven't quite gotten yet. I'm talking about this scenario that I'm going to do.
Okay, thank you.
Yep, absolutely. So so just kind of back up here a little bit. So I'm going to add a new approval rule for Fund 1111 for the Department of General Services. So anytime this code is used, an approver is pulled into the workflow. And I felt like this is probably more of a common scenario of something that you would configure or come across, a scenario that comes across common out in the field. So with that being said, I am going to go to configure, and then I'm going to go to allocation, chart of accounts. And this would be step one. And in here, this is where we're going to find all those different fields. And so what I'm going to do now is I'm going to go to the entity, and I am going to type in Department of General Services. There it is. I'm going to go ahead and click search. Great. And I'm going to come in and edit. And so what I'm going to do here is this is going to give me access to all of the fields, the requisition fields. So we have a lot of defaults up here. We're not going to touch anything. These are all the BSOs that are being touched by this this configuration. The important part is really at the bottom of this page. So they're the allocation levels. The ones we see here right now, these are the ones that are set up. If we click on, I'm not sure, you probably can't see this. It's a very, very light gray double arrow. These are the other fields that are available that are not being used that we could enable. But what we're going to do is I just wanted to verify that coming in here that the fund field was already selected, and it is. So that's great. So the fund field is available. So I don't need to add it. It's already in play. And then here, if you remember, we have the option to make a field required so that the requisitioner has to select data or input data. That is in this section to the right. As you can see now, excuse me, fiscal year and organization, they are required. So, but we're not going to make the fund required. If we wanted to, I could. I'm not going to. So all the fields are set up. The fund field is set up, and that's what I needed to check here. So I'm going to close out. And the next part of this that I am going to jump into is I'm going to make sure that that fund 1111 is either available, which is probably not. And so I'm going to go ahead and add that. So to get to funds, you go to admin, and then you go to browse data. And then here it saved that last search I did. So I'm going to click on the reset. Here we're going to go to scroll down. We're going to scroll down, and we are going to go to I passed it. I passed it big time. We're going to go to what's called functional model ORD purchase orders and click search, even though it's already displayed, just to make sure. And so this is a little bit different. In the current platform, when we want to go set up field data, we go to the client and then the field. In the new platform, we are going to the field first and then the client. So as you can see here, we've got different tables and we have names. So what I'm looking for is I'm looking for the fund. So that happens to be right here. I could have done another search, a control F, and typed in fund and looked for, and that would have brought me back as well, Cardinal Fund. But this is what I need. So I can either go into this pencil or I can click on the actual table name. I'm going to go click on the pencil. And so right now this is bringing back, it's bringing back all the funds, or all the funds that are in eVA regardless of client. So if I want to go ahead and filter this, right? Maybe maybe I want to just make sure it's not in there, or maybe I am looking for, or maybe I need to see what kind of funds we have in here because the agency wants a list. So I just did the Department of General Services. Did that not work? What did I do? Try this way. There we go. The A194. And so here are all the funds that we have. And of course, there's several results, several pages. And I can go here and click on the Excel document, have it downloaded, and I can share and see all the funds that are available. So let's pretend I did a search. I'm not seeing that fund. So I need to come in here and I am going to click on Add New Line. And the first thing that we're always going to do is click on, add in the organization. The Department of General Services. And then we're going to work from left to right. The reason we do this is sometimes this page is a little quirky. And if you start typing in other fields, it saves the data and then it kind of orphans it because we don't have, it's not tied to an organization. So to make sure that data doesn't get orphaned, we go ahead and put in the organization first. So right now, as you can see here, another benefit of searching for already codes that are existing is that you can see some of the standards in the setup, right? We can see what is in the standard setup. So for right now, for fund, it's actually a combination of the client ID and the fund. So we have that here. I just put that in that first field. See how it saved it? So now I need to go ahead and find it because it automatically saved it. It's a little quirky. And so let's see where it put it. There we go. All right, now I can finish. So I'm going to do sample for testing and I'll come back after this training and delete this. The ERP ID is the 4-digit code value. We're going to bypass import ID and ID import line and make this code now valid. And so what's nice is that it saves this automatically. So what I just did is I came in here, I went to admin, browse data, looked for purchase orders. I was presented with all the different fields that are on the requisition. I went and found the table for the fund, and then I added the fund code. And so again, I also made sure I was following the standard as far as the code, the example that was given here. All right, so that was kind of step 2. Step 3 is that we need to create an approval profile, which that would be in today's classic EVA would have been a role. And I'm going to need to add it to users. So I could have either gone, I showed you earlier some of my favorites, right? I called this step 3, or what I'm going to do now is I'm going to actually go into configure, scroll down to approval profiles. First, what I'm going to do is I'm going to see if it already exists. Now, approval profiles are a little bit different now. In Classic EVA today, we search for profiles by the client ID. So for the Department of General Services, I would search for A194, and then I would get a list of roles that have been created for the workflow for the Department of General Services. But in the new platform, we're able to, the way the workflow works is we're able to kind of share roles, because the workflow is being filtered based on the client first, and then it looks for the role. So we are just going to need to kind of change our mindset to know that we don't need to make roles client specific. Instead, we can share these role names. So for right now, I'm doing a little search. I want to see if anything exists. Nope, I don't have any code that I could kind of reuse. So I'm going to create one. And I just click on that add profile button. I'm going to put in the profile, the fun code. And it's going to be, so I put in the profile, the fun code, and then I'm going to put in the level, entity, and then the profile description is going to be fund code again. All right. And then I can, at this point, which is really nice, I can add approvers. Obviously I've got a whole bunch of different Yanas in here from all these different testing, but I could also put in, search for different people as well and put them in. So it's really quick. I didn't do any save on that. There we go. All right. So we have that option to add multiple users. I'm going to go ahead and click save and close, and it saved it. So now this is what an approval role looks like in the new client. And then, so now let's back up a couple minutes ago. Let's say I did a search and I found this fun code. By clicking on this pencil, I can come in and add approvers. So there's two options that we can take in here. We can either create a approval profile, or we can add users to an existing approval profile, which is really awesome. A lot quicker than if we would have to process kind of a bulk load today. All righty. So we've gone ahead and we've done that. So now the last step would be to go ahead and we're going to see if there is an approval rule set up. So let's go ahead and dive into configure. And I am going to scroll down here to approval rules. All right, this is a little bit of a nuance. So again, this is going to give us everybody's everything. But I want to see, and I'm just doing a little search first. I want to see what's in place. For me to truly do that, I need to go ahead and click see all. I would put in the agency ID, click search. You're going to be brought back the kind of the tree, if you will. This is what I've been calling the tree. Here I need to select all the BSOs. I need to select the client as well, the organization, click close. This is what I need to search to look at approval rules that are in place for the Department of General Services. We have them at the client level and at the BSO level. So I'm going to go ahead and click search. All right, and this is what it's bringing me back. These are all the rules that are in place. You can see these are going to include BSOs. These are the different rules right now that are on the BSO level. As you can see, we've got a lot that are specific to BSOs with that commodity code. So we've got a lot of different ones in here. So what I would do to see if it was in play is that I would have done a search on the approval profile to see if there was an approval profile created, but there wasn't. So in a moment, I'm going to go in and create a new rule. Again, if you want to share this out, you would come in here and click on the export to Excel just to share some things here that we're looking at. This order should look familiar because this is the rule token. You're going to see this approval organization is really the BSO, the rule description. That is the hover over that we're used to. And then this approval profile, which is the role. And then of course the status is valid. So this is things that we're already used to looking at, but just in a different order. I'm going to go ahead and click and add this new role. All right. And what I'm going to do is first, when you do this, let's see, let me first find this and show you. Always search for the client. Oops. There we go. So for right now, we always pick the type. We're always going to pick Department of General Services, and it's going to say eVA approval. This is where we can control the rule token, which is awesome. No more JIRA tickets. We can control that. If we did a search and we found this rule, we could have come in and completed a change to where it fired in the rule tokens. So let's see now. So here, this is where, let's see. Give me 1 second. Hold on. Let's go here. Actually, role description. And this should look familiar. This is what would have been like the approval reason, the little hover over message. So fund code approver must approve. Right? That's familiar. And then we'll come down in here. We want this to fire on confirming orders and on purchase orders. If we wanted any SWAM categories to fire, we could have done that. If we only wanted this to fire for certain dollar thresholds, we could as well. So we do have that option here. So let me come in here. Let's see first. So here we could have this fire. Let's see. Second. We could have this fire at the BSO level. We can set a workflow at the BSO level. So I mentioned previously, it's a little bit different. We don't have that form where we are pulling up the BSO and making the change. Instead, now we are pulling up the rule or creating the rule and either assigning it to the entire organization, all Department of General Services, or here is where we're coming in and selecting the BSO. So here I'm going to select the Department of General Services because they want it to be what we would consider agency-wide today. This would have been a signer rule today. And if I wanted to, I could again put a dollar amount. If I wanted to just specify a supplier, registration type, additional details, I could go ahead and do that. Right now I'm going to click save. Whoops. Let's say a dollar amount. I can put in a dollar amount. Let's see, I'll put in a dollar amount. There we go. We've got a dollar amount in there now. All right, so I'm going to go ahead and I did a save and close, but I want to show you one more thing on that one. Let's go ahead and find you. Probably going to be let's see, let's go back here. Just narrow this down. There we go. Because I applied it to the client level, not to a specific BSO. Then I did the 111. Let's see, where do we go? It didn't save. Let's see. Let me try this one more time. Let's see what happened here. There we go. All right, and then all right. Fund code approver must approve. And then confirming order and for purchase orders from the any amount. Oops. Extra decimal place. Like let's do the rule token. We said 50. Go ahead and click save. Great. All right. So now this is where I can come in and customize the fund. I added the fund. So this is where now this rule is going to fire anytime this 111 is selected. And then this next set here, this is under the approvers tab. This is now where I enter in the approval profile. And then now let's go ahead and click save. So now what happens is this is a rule. The fund code approver must approve. There, we put a dollar amount on here. We said when it was going to fire for confirming order or for purchase. We said it's firing off of Fund 111 anytime that is going to go ahead, and we're using this approval profile. So that is now how we can set up. Basically, I just set up a signer rule. Now I could have done this at the BSO level and then, or the site level, and then that would have been what we do today on our BSOs. So really, we've got a lot more power today. So let me go ahead and I'm going to click save one more time, save and close. It's going to take us back to our list. And now I'm just going to, that was the, that wrapped up the demo portion. So today we talked a little bit about what the plan is looking like for data management ETLs, talked about resources that we anticipate from CGI and documents that we will have in the report and resource center. Talked a little bit about what's changing, what is not changing, went through the demo, and now is the question portion of this. So just also wanted to leave you with a closing statement that today was just a demo to help you get used to this tool and this application in the new platform. We will be having more training, and we will be having training materials. CGI has been tasked with the training materials. So with that being said, let's go ahead and let's open up for some questions. So who has a question?
Hi, Anna, I have a question.
Yes,
So here on approval rules, if I want to see, say the dollar approvers for a BSO, I would choose the BSO or site under organization, correct? And it's going to
correct.
show me every rule that applies to that from the entity-wide rules on through to the ones that are just for that site, correct?
So what you'll have to do if you want to see entity-wide, you have to make sure you've got the Department of General Services
Right.
as the organization. If you want to see what's going on with the BSO, you would have to enter in that BSO name. So if you wanted to see both, you need to make sure you've got the Department of General Services and the BSO.
Okay, can you show me the BS? I'm just curious what it looks like.
So for example, let's say, well, probably what I would do is that I did the see all. Let me move that down.
Right.
I did the see all, and then I went and did a 194, and then I did a search, clicked on the search button, and then I made sure all of those were selected. I think you're going to, or obviously that's for if you wanted to see all of them. If I had a specific one, I would come in here and then also select there. Let's see. And do a search. So that should give me what's at see under the organization in the first half of the search, we've got a BSO listed. Second half, we've got the client. Now, if you want to look at the rule token where things are firing, you'll have to export and then to Excel and sort that out, or you could order it right here as well.
Right.
Did that
And
help?
then, yeah, can you just take the Department of General Services off? I just want to see what it looks like with just the BSO on there.
Oh, it didn't like that. I'll just pick one. Just pick one.
Yep. Okay, so it's got only the ones that apply to that. Okay, I see.
Yep. So that would include the dollars, right?
Right.
Rule description, and then these are the commodity codes.
An approval profile is what people see that's when they look at workflow, they'll see the rules description, the approval profile, correct?
Correct.
Okay. So if I really wanted to get, I could, for instance, change this approval profile to say A194 DCLS metals over $10,000 if that was the dollar approver, just to be a little more specific. So I'm just thinking if I'm going in looking for stuff.
So you would want to make that to the approval rule. The profile is the role.
Right.
But
okay.
the rule description you could. Yeah,
the
absolutely.
rules description. Okay, that's what I meant. Okay, rules description. Okay.
So for example, maybe instead of $1, maybe you could say some of this we want to keep, right? Because
right.
Some of this standard. So we want to keep like the commodity code 1, right? We want to keep that because that gives a lot of information. But maybe you could tag on, well, that probably here, $1 approver must approve at 50,000, at 10,000, at 0.
Yeah.
And that would be, and then so when you ran this, I talked about running it, but exporting it and sharing it, it would have a lot more value.
Yeah, because I'm just thinking like I might come in and be like, well, what's commodity code 1? I gotta find which one, instead of having to go into each one.
Yep.
I'm not gonna do it in advance, but as I go through and maybe change these or whatever, So okay. And then I have another question, unless somebody else wants to go. Under approval profiles, when you're doing a keyword search, is it just searching just the profile code and description? So
Correct.
for example, so in your case, fund code 1111, if somebody hadn't put that in either the code or description, I wouldn't be able to find it and know that there's already one there.
Correct.
Okay.
But it would probably be, you would probably put it in either, probably aren't the best, but you would probably have put it in the code or the description, right?
One way, that was my next. I think we kind of need to maybe come up with a naming convention to going forward, because I don't know if the ones coming across are necessarily going to have that, but
it should have a definite code. because you're going to need that code. So if you have it for they all vary. Let me do a better example. Let's see if I could do it. This is a common one, like a cost code.
Right.
See how all these you're gonna have to, if it is an accounting code, you're gonna have that code included.
Right.
Some of these, look at all these have the code included.
Okay, so most do. Okay, that's good.
But some of them won't if they're, let's say what was this other in this first row? I think it was like more of a role, a business manager. So this could have been a flat dollar, like some type of dollar amount, right?
Right.
Let me look at this. So yeah, this could have been used in in a different scenario, just like today. So today, they are somewhat, you have to figure out exactly the definition. These are easy definitions. Some of these
Okay.
others, you have to see, maybe this one sits at a BSO of $1, $2, $3 approver, right? So,
Right.
but that is definitely something that, as time goes on or that we can look at. But this is, what's in here today.
Okay. Thanks.
Yeah, you're welcome. You're welcome. Do we have anybody else with any questions? Yeah, somebody's got to have some questions. Come on. Any questions? Seriously. Somebody? No? Just jump in. Jump in. Anybody? I'm looking through names here. No questions? Okie dokie. All right, well, this is just the beginning of this conversation. So if you do have any questions today or at any other point, just send me an email or, send me a chat and I'd be happy to help you. So with that, thank you so much for your time today. There will be an email either today or tomorrow with a link to watch the playback. So just wanted to thank you guys again for your time, and I hope you learned something. With
Thanks,
that,
Jana.
you're welcome. With that, I'll talk to you guys soon. Thanks again.
Thank
Thanks,
you.
Hannah.
Thanks.
Thank you.
Thanks.